Hey guys, happy Friday. This is Tracy Pelfrey. I was looking over some things today and I saw that I had a recommendation for a video where he gave his qualifications at the beginning of the video. I clipped that part. He was taught, the title was something about phone calls or the weird behavior with narcissists over the phone, something like that. And I thought, that's different. That's a different topic. I haven't seen that one before. So I checked it out. And as soon as I heard this first part, I was like, memories came back to me. I remembered this not long ago and shared it with someone, but it's interesting. I've said this before. Our experience in there, as with the testimony of Eric Meeks from the previous video interview, there is a combination of happy and of unhappy situations in the group like that for a reason. And I believe it's all these layers of things. Like you wouldn't take maybe one thing and say, point to it and say, look at that. You can, over time, you find there are things like that, and that is usually what causes us to beat tracks out of there. But it's all the layers of things. It's situations in classes, in services, in fellowship, whatever it is. There's all kinds of different situations. And this was one that stuck in my mind. So I would say it was after the split with Dennis and that group that left. I believe it was the beginning of 2004 that Davis put together a pastor's, I won't call it a conference, almost like a seminar. It was for them. It was for just men who were pastors and their wives. And they came into town, and many of us hosted some of them. And I volunteered to bake for Tanya Keckel, Gail Olson, and Lori DeFrancesco, just to help them out because they were having people over to their houses each night. And so why not throw in a little something extra for them to put on the table? And I tried to just find easy things so it wasn't a burden or anything. And I was glad to do it. And so Tanya called me up this one morning, and we were working out what I was making and when it would be brought up to their house. And I said, well, first we're going to drop something off at the DeFrancesco's, and I didn't even get the next word out because she hung up on me. And I just stood there with the phone in my hand thinking, oh my God, what did I do? Because what goes through your mind? If someone hangs up on you, what kind of situation is it usually? It's not good. It's not positive. You just don't say something positive and someone hangs up on you normally. A phone can get cut off, but a hang up is something different. I didn't know what to do. My heart started racing. I felt sweaty. Like, oh my God. You're standing there like, I made the woman of God upset. That's exactly what it was. And so I was such a tool. I hate looking back on myself and seeing what a tool I was, but a tool I was. And I called her back and I said, sister, is everything okay? What happened? And she said, well, she was just really blunt and short with me. And that had not been, I was starting to see cracks. I was starting to see the veneer chipped when it came to her behavior when you got to know her better. And this was one of those situations where she said, well, clearly you're already making things for other people. And I was trying to tell her, I already have everything together. It's easy stuff. 1, 2, 3 in the oven. It's nothing special. It's just to have more. And I want to help because how many people went over as compared to Tanya and Verna? How many people went over to help Gail Olson and Lori DeFrancesco. Not the same. It wasn't the same at all. It wasn't the same at all, and it wasn't the same if at all. Because we lived right there. My daughters helped Gail Olson when they would get their RV together before going on the road. They went over to the DeFrancescos and enjoyed playing with the dogs and with her son, and were absolutely thrilled to assist in any way. They loved and adored both of those ladies, especially during that time, because you are having people to your home every single night, whether you want to or not. It's expected. There's no free will involved. There's a caste system in NTCC. There always has been. Verna and Tanya are at the top. They're the ones that get unto themselves all the help, because people think it's a blessing, it's an honor to help the men of God and their wives. My girls and I were close to the DeFrancescos, so of course I was going to do that and help them. And so I left that conversation. You know, it's one of those things when you're in a situation, in a group like that, where you don't even want to let yourself think a certain way. That's why I admire people who at the time you think, ooh, they have a rough edge to them, or they are clearly okay with doing their own thing when it comes to certain activities or things we weren't allowed to do, but they would start to do them. I look back now, I admire every single one of those people. And if you're listening to me now and you know you're one of those, I adore you, because it's people like you that helped me eventually. Because there isn't a moment where there's one event that happens and you're like, I'm out of here. There is a straw that breaks the camel's back. There is. There's going to be. You see things, you tuck it away, you don't know what to make of it, you don't know how to respond to it. We were living in one of the homes there on campus. It's not like living off campus where you can just say, I'm tired of this, I'm not going anymore. I'm tired of what I see, I'm tired of what I hear. You're stuck, and you deal with it. Okay. Clearly my neighbor is doing some work. Either that or it's a really big fly or mosquito stuck somewhere. Sorry about that. Anyway, let's listen to what this guy has to say. And does it resonate with you? And have you had the same situations? I imagine it's very much the same in texting, which we didn't do as much of back then. It would have been through email. I'm sorry about that. Or phone calls. At least her dog isn't barking right now, which sometimes happens. Anyway, that's life. Condo life. Yay. Okay, listen to this. See what you think.
Number one, they will hang up on you if you give them a narcissistic injury. How can you give them a narcissistic injury? By saying no, by refusing to let them have control over you and over the situation, by not behaving the way they want you to behave, by not giving them what they want from you. Hanging up on people, and that too abruptly, is a very disrespectful behavior that shows the other person feels entitled and they think they can get away with that. They can cut you off and then later act as if nothing has happened. They haven't done anything wrong. They won't give you any space to hold a grudge, to be angry about that. They will want you to get along. The problem is they program you. They create what is called abandonment sensitivity. They make you walk on eggshells and force you to filter your words whenever you get on a phone call with them. You have to talk a certain way, use certain words to keep everything stable. If you say something that is perceived as unpleasant by the narcissist, what will be their reaction? They will instantly discard you like a piece of trash. And then what will that do to you? you will be left with a ton of anxiety and panic to deal with. An objective observer might say, they have disrespected you. What are you anxious about? You should be really angry. Don't call them back. Let them suffer. You should be the one abandoning them. But what happens in reality is the opposite of what somebody would suggest. Why? Well, you're trauma bonded and your brain tries to fix the situation. How does it do so? By calling them continuously, apologizing profusely, and trying to mend the situation by giving in. I shouldn't have said that. My tone wasn't right and this wasn't right. I take responsibility. Please don't do that again. This is what is called rejection sensitivity. That's how they program you to become their psychological slave.
And that's exactly what occurred for me. You feel like you're in the position. Your first thought isn't, oh my God, how rude. It's, oh my God, what did I do to upset her? That she would hang up on me in mid-sentence. It's just one thing added to all the others, which paints a picture. When you paint a picture, it's more than one color. It's more than one texture. It's more than maybe one medium that you use. And each piece by itself, you're like, oh, what's that going to be? But when it's done and it's all put together, the picture is clear. Okay, corny illustration, but you get it, right? I'm just wondering how many have similar things. Just a small thing, maybe a text, maybe an email, maybe a word unfitly spoken to you and in agitation by, I would say mostly it would be by Mike or Tanya in this day and age. Before, definitely Davis. Oh my goodness, no doubt. It's like the closer you get to people, the more you see, the more you have to check yourself. What am I desensitizing myself to? What am I accepting that I wouldn't accept from anyone else, or I wouldn't even do to someone else? All right, guys, have an awesome Friday. We've got lots of stuff on the horizon. Oh my goodness. I appreciate you all. I really, really do. Thank you.